Hey guys, welcome back to another chair sketch video. Of course, with every chair sketch, we start off with the idea phase, brainstorming, the soul of the sketch. I don't really have many ideas this week. I'm just going to start doodling, see what happens. I thought I might switch it up from the post-it notes and do a sketchbook style doodle sesh. Of course, with these videos, I think it'd be great if you guys wanted to sketch with me. And of course, if you have any comments or feedback, please let me know. We're in this together. I know a few of you wanted some more in-depth discussion around shading and lighting, which we can get into, and then also fabrics. So maybe we can do like some sort of fabric chair. I'm trying to think what kind of something with like drapery, maybe. It's kind of crazy. What about like a big, I've done this chair where it's like a big pillow inside of a mesh. But maybe I could do a big pillow chair. I mean, I kind of think about how you can fold pillows up. Some sort of folded pillow, maybe? It's kind of interesting. Doesn't necessarily have to be a pillow. It could be, I mean, what are some other fabric things? I mean, could do stretched fabric. Almost like a trampoline. Could do a trampoline chair. I wonder how that would work. Well, let's try that. Like, what if, I mean, this is not a fabric chair, but this is what brainstorming does, you know, it leads you to different ideas. Sometimes you start off with an idea and you end up completely somewhere else. You could have springs on it. Trampolines have those springs, you know. This could be cool, actually. I think we should do this one. You know, sometimes you just come up with an idea and it just sticks. And that's the one you should do. Yeah, I think that'd be cool. And I think we could even make it kind of like a trampoline, because I think trampolines, like their frame, goes like this. Kind of around. Maybe? I don't really remember. We could probably look it up, but I think this will do for now. All right. Once you got your idea, once you got the soul of design, get your iPad, get your Wacom, get your Surface Pro, I don't know, whatever you guys sketch on. I use Procreate, but of course a lot of these techniques could be applied to any sketching software. And the size I use for my chair sketches is a 10" by 10" at 300 dpi canvas. Alright. I always start out with my ballpoint custom brush, which you can download on the Patreon, and just start roughing out the idea. So, one thing I like to do is kind of look at my past chairs and see which way they're facing, because I like to kind of mix them up. You know, some are facing to the left, some are facing to the right. I like to flip-flop them. I can always switch it later on after the sketch, but so my last chair was facing to the left. I might do this guy facing to the right. Alright, I'm just going to put some rough line work down just to get the perspective right. Not really worried how it looks. It's mainly just for construction. I'm kind of working out the idea too. You know, I just quickly drew up the chair, but I don't exactly know how it's going to look. So I actually might flare these out. Oh, I don't think I should do that. I'm just gonna do another underlay. Wasn't really feeling that one. If you need to, if it helps, just draw a simple box. Just to get your perspective down. On Procreate, 2 fingers is undo, so tap with 2 fingers. I always make my perspective a little bit forced on these chairs, a little bit squatty. The chairs kind of look like couches sometimes. It's a stylistic thing. It's similar to how when car designers sketch cars, they always look so fast and so cool, but the real car doesn't. Same thing, same idea. The chairs look always so cool, but if they were actually made, number one, they probably wouldn't work. And they wouldn't look as good. Let's see. I could do kind of a bar coming out right here. And then maybe it goes back up again for the back. I'm trying to figure out the back. Oh, that's kind of funky. You can also resize it and make it squatty or tall. I mean, you can adjust it a little bit. I think if you go too far, it looks weird for sure. I'm going to turn on magnetics right here. Makes it slide or scale proportionally, so I don't mess up the perspective. Okay, let's see. I think my perspective's still a little off. I think it might just be this top piece. I'm going to get rid of that layer. I always take my time getting perspective down, because there's nothing worse than doing a full sketch and something is not quite right. Also, perspective just takes time to learn. It's this thing that you can, if you practice it enough, you can just inherently know how things are supposed to look. But, you know, it takes time, so don't feel discouraged if your sketches are always a little bit off. I think every sketch is always a little bit off. That's the beauty of it. It's the beauty of a sketch. Also, I think I learned that Patreon has a community tab, so that if you guys want, you can post, I believe, on the Patreon page. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't really tested it, but I don't know. Try it out. I'll have to look into it a little bit more, but I mean, to get feedback from everyone, or I mean, I'll certainly see it. Like if you watch one of these videos and then want to, I mean, and sketch while you do it, and then want to post that sketch, that'd be awesome. All right, so here, should I go all the way across? I think I might. Yeah, see that frame is looking a lot better now. I might tilt this up a little bit. not entirely sure how the trampoline springs look, so I'm gonna just go to the web right quick. Gotta turn on Wi-Fi. Trampoline spring. So this is really good for reference. So now I can kind of see how the trampoline connects and what it looks like. One thing too I was thinking is how, you know how you can kind of see through a trampoline? You can't really see it on these photos, but you can see through a trampoline sometimes, you know, kind of like, I don't know what the best way to describe it, but I think I should try to do kind of like a see-through portion of the trampoline. All right, so for the fabric, trampoline fabric, it's probably not called fabric. I don't know what it's called, but I'm exaggerating here. So, you know, instead of those springs are really long, instead of doing those long springs, actually, hang on a second. I think we should cut the top off of this chair and let the fabric be loose. Yeah, that looks good. That makes more sense because then it would be more springy. One thing you can kind of do to make something look like it's taut, like it's kind of tight, is just put a little bow in it. Like that. I'm probably spending too much time on this underlay. Let's put the fabric portion in here, like that, and then go ahead and start our line work layer. So you got your underlay down. Next step, do the line work. So this is the point where you want to come in here and be more intentional with your lines. You can cheat. Well, I mean, you can use the special line tool in Procreate, and other softwares have line tools, but Procreate, you draw a line and then you hold, and it makes a straight line. So right now I'm just drawing the steel tubing frame of the chair. I've drawn quite a lot of kind of rod tubing chair frames, so I'd say I pretty much can nail these parallel lines and perspectives pretty easily. Again, it's just something that takes a lot of time to get good at. I'm always zooming in and out just to look at the perspective, make sure Everything's looking good. So since I'm going to draw, so for example, we have this sheet right here, this fabric trampoline bottom to the chair. And theoretically, if it was opaque, you couldn't see through it, we wouldn't necessarily need to draw this leg back here. But since I'm going to try to make it so it's see-through, I'm going to draw this leg back here. Let's see, I'm trying to get this little, there we go. I'm also not afraid to turn the page around. I think it's really helpful to get good line work down. When you're learning, when you're just starting out, there's professors that'll tell you not to turn your page and just use your arm, and I think that's good. I think that it helps you learn how to sketch better, but I think at a certain point, just do what feels most natural, as long as you can create quality work in a timely manner. I think that's really what you're looking for in a sketch. Quality work that can show off your idea, of course. I think either this leg should come down or this one should shorten, because it's not quite even. I'm gonna erase that. See, that easy. All right, let's draw the fabric in here. Now, of course, we're gonna have springs in between the fabric and the frame, so I want to leave a little bit of gap, but not too big of a gap that it looks like the chair isn't going to be, well, I was going to say the chair isn't going to be functional, but we all know that my chairs aren't functional to begin with, so but it's the idea, right? It's the idea that matters. So, one thing I'm making sure is that when I'm going to kind of bow this out, that I'm bowing both sides in, because if I bowed this bottom side down like this, it's just going to look like the trampoline sagging. But both coming in makes it look like it's stretching. I'm going to come in here, clean up some of these lines. Oh, I forgot to turn the setting on. Someone mentioned that I could turn on, maybe it's in here, let me see, a setting that makes my hand not accidentally mark the page. Gesture controls, maybe? Actually, I'll worry about that later. But there's a setting somewhere. I gotta find it, because I definitely tend to touch the page a bit. Alright, so from the springs, what I remember is that they were cylinders, and of course they had a bit of the coiled look to them, but for the most part they were just like cylinders with a little bit of a texture on them. I think when you're starting out, you think, oh, do a spring, so I'm gonna like draw this thing, right? Of course that doesn't, it looks really busy for one, but this is a much easier way to do it, is if you just draw a cylinder and then add in a few lines, add in the outline of it so it looks a little springy. That's a quicker spring that makes a bit more sense in my head. Let's do the main piece of fabric. Wish I knew what to call the trampoline. It's not fabric, it's like trampoline. It's main piece of tarp. Of course, I'm leaving a good bit of room for the springs to go in between the frame and the... Oh, my perspective looks kind of off. Hang on, let me see if I can fix this. I'm just going to turn down my underlay a little bit just because it's distracting me, I think. Oh, I might redo this so that we get that stretch. And I'm just bowing it slightly. Like, I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but here's a straight line. That's a straight line next to my bow. It's a very slight bow. My perspective still is a bit off. I mean, these sketches take time. Don't feel like you have to do them super quick or anything. You just, if you want to do a nice sketch render, you got to put in the time for it. I think my frame is off a bit. That actually looks good, I think. Let's do... Yeah, that looks great. One trick is to select everything and then flip it, and then see if the perspective still looks okay. This is a funky chair. I don't think it looks right. Did we do all the perspective wrong? I think it's okay. Like I said, you're not going to get it 100% perfect. So it's important not to try to be a perfectionist on these sketches, because if you're a perfectionist, you'll never finish it. Alright, I'm just adding in these springs now. Some of these lines you probably don't even have to kind of erase, because it's so small that it really doesn't matter, but yeah, see, that's looking good. I don't think the perspective's that bad. Oh, one thing too is on the trampoline there was like a little bit of a edge to it. So I'm just going to add in some sort of webbing on the edge, edging, lining, I don't know what you want to call it. A lighter line just to kind of detail out where that is. Alright, springs on that guy. Now down here. I think another thing to think about, and this is kind of goes with design in general, is to convey your idea or your design, how distilled can you take your design and still have it be understood? For example, you know, in theory, a trampoline might have a lot more springs in this than 3. I mean, we looked at those trampolines on Google and it had, 100 springs, and I could easily put 2 more in here. But for the sake of this concept and understanding the chair, this is just a sketch. It's not a real thing. So putting in just 3 springs makes the design so much more strong, because it's simpler. It's easier to understand. Down here, I'm probably going to do 4 across. I'm actually, on this guy, just going to draw on the cylinders first. Rough them in. Just roughly get them in there, and I'll come back in and fix them. And then I can match them on the other side. So... All right. Put our little eyelets in here. A little edging. Since we didn't draw this on a different, we should have drawn, if we want this to be see-through, we should have drawn this on a separate layer. I'm gonna just I'm gonna do some magic and just cut this leg out. Alright, so I just used the magic wand tool right here. Now, and to cut and perforate, you swipe down with 3 fingers. I cut it, and I can also cut it and paste, and that's what I'm going to do, cut and paste. So now I can put this down here, underneath, and turn it down a little bit. So now it looks like it's essentially a sheet of film or transparency of some sort. And I'll come back to this and adjust it later. But for now, let's go back to our main line work layer. And finish these springs. So, kind of want to clean them up a bit. Again, kind of do our squiggly line, texture, kind of do our hooks and holes. You know, one thing you can do, and I don't do a lot of this, and I don't know why, I think there's just something that in my head, the character of the sketch gets lost, but you could technically just copy this spring and paste it 4 different times. But for me, I feel like if I did that, then the sketch loses a bit of charm. I mean, it's purely kind of a stylistic thing and it takes me longer, but you know, it's an option. I do it occasionally. I've done it on a few chairs. I know there's one chair that I had that kind of folded into itself. It was a bunch of sheets of plywood. And I'm drawing these eyelets kind of incorrectly here. Probably should have drawn the eyelets with the spring itself. But I'm not really being super detailed with these eyelets. It's more about the idea, you know. Or maybe you don't know. I tend to say you know a lot, and sometimes people will be like, I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about, Nick. Trampoline chair coming along. I kind of like the spring. The springs really give the chair a lot of life. Really kind of makes it feel detailed, but it's still a simple concept. I'm also curious to hear how you guys actually watch these videos. They're long videos. Do you guys kind of just put them in the background and sketch, or are you watching them full length? Are you listening to music? Let me know. Let me know how I can adjust my technique. If there's a better way to do something, I want to know about it. I really do appreciate you guys being the first to try it out, to support my newest endeavor, the Patreon endeavor, the video endeavor. It's been a learning curve for sure. Yeah, I can't wait till we hit that first milestone, $300. I can get a nice camera, not have to have my iPad fall, not have to spend 2 hours trying to transfer videos from my phone to a computer. But I gotta do what you gotta do to get things done. This is one of those chairs that you definitely don't want to like accidentally sit on the edge. I remember when I was a kid and you would sit on the edge of a trampoline, you would get your butt pinched by the springs. It would just stretch and contract and get you, and it hurt. It hurt bad. All right. Oh, I think my audio cut out, but I'm just gonna double check it right quick. Okay, I don't know what happened to my audio again, but I'm just gonna sync it. Hopefully it works. And it might have not cut out. I don't know. It's a learning process. I guess if my audio just cut out, you missed all that, but yeah, continuing to evolve the Patreon. I mean, you didn't miss anything. I was just talking about the Patreon and how I want your feedback, and now I'm excited for it. Alright, just adding in the quick little webbing. Might actually make that a little darker. Alright, I think our line work's pretty much done. For whatever reason, it's still, the perspective still looks kind of funky, but I think it might just be this bottom rail. If I do this, I'm going to cheat. I mean, it's not really cheating. I shouldn't say cheating because it's a valid way to sketch. It's just not how I sketch. I mean, I do sketch with the line tool occasionally, but also the one thing that I will say to like using the line tool or using aids, if you ever have to sketch with a pen and you don't have a digital software, then your sketching quality is going to be really bad, especially if it's like for whatever reason you have to do a client project and your Cintiq breaks and you can't finish it in time and you got to do pen sketches. Yeah, I mean, you got to know how to sketch without using, I guess you could use a ruler. Okay, my point's invalid. Never mind. If you were stranded on a desert island, there you go. Alright, so we got our line work down. Now it's time, add the contour lines. Contour lines just give the sketch a bit more definition, kind of show the center of the sketch. Sometimes I take the contour line and put it on the ground. Also on these legs, I just take little circles and do a little cross section. Just like that. Of course, there's going to be a little bump at that webbing because it's like an edge, right? So make sure you put that in. And how I do those little bumps is I go and I do a little V. It kind of simulates a bump or like a break in a design. Now I'm drawing these lines really straight because remember the material's taut. The whole point of this tutorial was to do some sort of flowing fabric, and we're doing very taut and tight fabric, but we'll eventually do some more flowing fabrics, I'm sure. There's many more chairs to come. Although I was actually kind of thinking about doing, so this is chair number 82, I believe. I was thinking about doing, we can turn off our underlay now, by the way. It's still there kind of in the background. Where is it? Right here? Okay. Oh, I just deleted it. I don't want to delete it. I don't need it, but I'm just going to turn it off. I mean, I think it's good to keep it on, and keep it, not delete it, but keep it in your file, just for reference, to see the process, especially for you guys, since you guys can download my files. I also have to figure out, I know some people are saying that the file is not compatible with their iPad, so I gotta look into that a little more and figure out how to best send the files to you guys. Alright, that's enough messing around with the line work. Next up, add some color. So we'll go underneath, and what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to do two sections of color. So I'm going to do the springs in the middle as one, and then the fabric tarp as another. So the color that I'm adding is just a simple gray, middle gray, right here. And I'm using a hard brush, and I'm just adding the color in so that I can select the part of the object that I want to shade. So this is essentially like a selection tool. Also, make sure you use a hard brush. You definitely want to have that hard edge when you're coloring in this line work layer. Oh, and then make a new layer, of course. I think I already did that, or showed you that. Just like coloring in a coloring book, except you made the lines, so it's a little bit harder, but I mean this part's easy. It just takes some time. So right here, I'm still trying to think exactly how. I think I'm gonna color in the legs underneath as well, just like this. I think this makes sense. Alright, and then let's come back and do the springs. Oh, forgot this little piece down here. I guess these grommets are going to be metal too, so let's color those in as well. Oh, we forgot to do our side view. Let's do that after this. It's always good to do sometimes I get ahead of myself and forget about the side view. but I think it's important to do it simultaneously with the chair sketch, or whatever you're sketching, just because it's easier to do colors and things all at once, then switch it back and forth and try to match colors and stuff like that. I mean, you'll end up doing a little bit of that, but to save a bit of trouble. All right, oh, some more springs, hang on. Okay. Let's quickly do a side view. So do another layer, go back to our ballpoint pen, get black, come up here. I always put down kind of like a baseline with the line tool. And then I can come up, let's see, I'm trying to kind of envision what this looks like from the side. I guess it kind of just looks like straight on. I put a little bit of curvature to it, or slant, I mean. It's kind of a boring chair from the side. I guess we can put the fabric down here too. This one's pretty much in the center though. So I'm going to leave it as is. Also put a contour line here, or kind of like an orthographic line to show that this is it's 2D. It's actually a little bit small. I'm just gonna blow it up a bit. Alright, now let's go back to our, let's actually make a new layer for the fabric. I'm just gonna select another color, another gray. Really, you could do any color. It doesn't really matter. I choose gray just because it's a neutral color. I'm not like choosing hot pink and having to look at hot pink while I color in this entire sketch. Could get a little, could be hard on the eyes. Also, technically here, let me see. So technically, I think I can just kind of go over or under these. I don't necessarily have to go around them because I already did that layer, and it's above this tarp layer. Although if it's above, then the tarp has to be above this layer. Okay, we'll fix it in a second. Hang on. I'm just going to color this all in. Okay, so here's what I'll do. I'm going to move this above this layer, and I'm going to select this layer, but stay on top. Oops, let's see. Stay on our tarp layer, select the metal layer, stay on the tarp layer, and then come in and erase the grommets and the springs. But don't erase this leg. Because the leg's underneath the... I'm erasing the grommets and the springs because the tarp is not covering those. The leg is being covered by the tarp, though. Okay. That's good. We're not doing this the most efficient way, but I usually never do it the most efficient way. I just go for it and kind of adjust as I go. So yeah, you do want to kind of take your time to go around these grommets, because we didn't do this correctly the first time, but that's okay. I wouldn't say we didn't do it correctly, I just don't think we did it the most efficient way. Also, if you just do the outline, you can come back in with a larger brush and fill in the blank space. Okay. Alright, that's good. This actually looks pretty cool when the line work is just kind of faded through that. Let's just come back up to this guy right quick. Shouldn't take any time at all to color this one in. Just like that, okay. Alright. Alright, check on the color layer, or the selection layer. Now we'll just, so you tap on the layer, and you click select, and now we can put some highlights in here, highlights and shadows. So I'm just taking a white, all the way white, airbrush. Now, in terms of like the light, I always have the light coming down kind of front of the chair, maybe front and far side of the chair. And so everything that's kind of pointing there, which is like the top is usually the lightest. So I'll come in here. With a bright white. The front is somewhat light as well. And of course, this is the top. Top's down here, or the top of this. This is not the top of the chair. It's just the top of this pipe base. I'm actually going to turn off the tarp layer so I can see this layer. Definitely using kind of the pressure sensitivity of this soft airbrush to really get a nice gradient. Alright, I mean, I quickly just blocked in some highlights so I can come back in and kind of adjust them some more. Oh. I'm going to take some dark, put some dark now. I don't go all the way black, I go maybe like 70% gray. Come in here. Of course, the darks are pretty easy, you just put it on the darkest side. Well, actually, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put it on the dark here, on the bottom side for now. But what we're going to do, tap and hold is select color, and the background's white, so I'm just going to quickly select white. You know, what we're going to do is come back in and then put this little back highlight on it. Because the ground's white, it's shining up against the... So you can kind of see this. This is a pipe, but then when I add this to it, it looks a lot more round. So... But it's a little easier to add this dark first and then come back with the white than it is to really do that all in one go. Also, this dark color gives you an extra chance to kind of massage these highlights. Add a little more roundness to it. Harsher lines makes it look shinier. I don't know if I want it to be super shiny. Softer brushes make it look more matte. Okay, let's do our little highlight trick here. I mean, if you even need to, you can do the, our line, straight line, just to get that little bit of a highlight there. Doesn't have to be much, just a little bit. I'm not worrying about the springs right now. I'll come back and do those in a second. And just like that, we got our pipe. Looks pretty good. You know, it's not perfect shadows or whatever, but no big deal. Alright, now for the springs, since they have like those ridges, I'm actually gonna do like kind of like a, I don't really know exactly what this would really be called, but kind of like a zigzag on top. And then I'll do a dark zigzag on the bottom here in a second. Kind of following the same rules. Put our lights on the top, darks on the bottom. These are just cylinders essentially with some texture to them. I actually think I keep coloring in this kind of the inside of the spring. I think that should be dark, which I will do in a second. Alright, switch over to our kind of 70% dark soft airbrush, zigzag, zigzag, zigzag. And then of course we'll come back with our special trick in a second. And put some light on the bottom of these springs. Just to give that extra look. Okay, so we got that metal piece down, got the color down. Now if we want, we can change it to whatever color. You just duplicate the layer, and let's say we want it to be blue. We select the top shadow layer that we just did to multiply, and then fill it in. We actually just want it to be gray. And then we can duplicate, make several different layers. I usually do like an overlay layer that kind of turns up the contrast. Sometimes a color burn if I have color, but there's no color on this guy, so just play around with these layers a little bit. Maybe this linear burn looks a little better. I kind of want it to be a little shiny. Alright, let's select our tarp and add a little color to that. So, this is pretty simple, straightforward. We got white, it's at the top of the chair coming down. Then we got the front, which is pretty bright as well. Maybe like a little bit brighter like that. You know, I can add a little bit of maybe just some variance in the color. I'm just adding in just a slight airbrush just to give it some variation. I can come in here and just to highlight these seams, take our white and just give this thing an edge. Kind of pops it out a good bit. Same thing with the dark. Probably do the same thing down here. Just, you know, just giving it some more shape. These are the details that really help the sketch come alive. Okay, let's do a duplicate and then turn this one to multiply. Select this layer and we want to make it that dark. Maybe it's like a dark purple. Let's just say for the purpose of this sketch it'll be like a dark purple, because it's a trampoline. All right. Now I can kind of change the opacity, which is what we wanted, you know, so you can kind of see this leg underneath. I'm actually gonna turn this layer down to the line work layer. Let's duplicate this. Let's do some color burn. Duplicate. Overlay. Get our highlights in there. Just like that. Yeah, this is coming along nicely. Let's go ahead and do another layer. I'm going to add some texture. So the trampoline has that like woven texture. I think, I'm trying to think what the best way to do that is. I could import a texture, but I don't really. Actually, what's this halftone? I kind of want to see what this looks like. If I just overlay this, because trampolines had those like dots, kind of. That actually looks pretty cool. Yeah, I might go with that. It's very I wonder if I can spacing. How do I? I'll figure it out later. I'll just put this down just to give it a little more texture. Let's also do some dark here. Yeah, see, this kind of has that like almost mirage effect that we're looking for. I can probably duplicate it too to get a more of a contrast. Okay. I'm not super pleased yet with the way this is popping. I want it to pop a lot more. I want it to really shine. So what I might do is just a new layer. Let's select this. I'm just going to put a white streak down on a new layer. Something kind of like that, you know, kind of like it's shimmering in the sun. I don't know if I like that. Maybe that's okay if it's like not as... Maybe let's switch to a soft airbrush instead. Let's see how this looks. I think that looks a little more acceptable. And we can turn that opacity down a bit. And then another thing I like to do is to come in here and just pull out some of these highlights. Just using a white soft airbrush, but really small soft airbrush. And I'm just going to do this on the whole sketch, like take and give this thing some highlights here, some hot spots. You know, like down here, right here, on these corners especially, you know, there's highlights on the corners. Yeah, see, that really popped it out a good bit. Might even come in here. There we go. Another thing too, I guess we can quickly do our side view. We forgot to do the light on here. See, I said I forget about the side view. It's more of just a kind of a filler sketch just to get the composition looking nice. All right. Let's also give this centerpiece a little purple. Okay. I'm going to add some texture to the metal piece. Kind of similar to what we did with the tarp or the fabric. I always put a little noise on the metal, just because I think it gives it a little more kind of like that sandblasted look. I'm going to overlay it. And maybe just multiply. Cool. Okay. Don't forget our drop shadow. You know, I'm just kind of putting in roughly where the shadow would go now. Of course, there's going to be kind of like a... I might not even add in a line here for the springs. Just get too busy. Drop shadow is really just to ground the sketch, not trying to make it super detailed. Don't really want don't really want to call attention to it. Alright, new layer underneath the drop shadow. Just coloring it in. Now, since our tarp is kind of see-through, I'm making sure to color in this back piece where this back leg is. I'm going to put a little bit of shadow underneath this front. Fill it in. Alright, then I'm going to come in here with an eraser and and this is my chance to really, I might take the opacity down on this eraser. It's kind of my chance to kind of erase where these springs would be, so something kind of like this. Kind of study shadows, you can kind of see what parts are darker, what parts are lighter, and this again, just really to ground the sketch. We're not trying to bring a bunch of attention to the shadow, but it does add a bit of realism. So, all right, I'm going to group all these, and to group them, you just kind of swipe them to the right to select. Group. Oh, I think I missed this guy, and this guy, and this guy. There. And then group the side. Okay, so let's move these guys around, make sure they look good. This guy can be a little bigger. Just a hair, move him over. Then our side view can definitely be bigger. Right there. Then let's add in our vignette, which is essentially just this background box that I always add in. I think it's called a vignette. Sometimes I wonder what it's actually called, if that's the right term or not. This really just ties the sketch together, makes it look a little more cohesive. And it helps fix the composition. So I can use this box to kind of fill in any blank space that needs it, or kind of center the sketch if it's not centered. The box is usually centered, and then I can also can bring it down here and adjust it a little bit Bring it out to the edge. And you never want the box to run into anything important. So for example, I don't want the box to come and hit this edge right here. This would be bad. I'm trying to make it so that it kind of crosses over lines. Doesn't run into any tangent lines anywhere. So that looks good. And I'll come in here and erase it where it intersects. And then remember right here, our tarp is sort of see-through. So I'm not going to erase this all the way. Just a little bit. Of course, on the metal, you erase it all the way. Okay. Move this down a little bit. And then the last thing is to add in some callouts. And this definitely helps kind of solidify the sketch as well. So we'll add in callout here. And I don't know what to call this. Trampoline material? Trampoline nylon. So this is kind of one of those times where I'll flip it back on and trampoline. I don't know why it's not. Trampoline fabric. Flip the internet back on and just double check my heavy mesh textile. Oh, trampoline mesh. We could call it mesh. I think mesh would be a good word. Okay. Trampoline mesh. And then down here, kind of see how I'm trying to fill up this area so it looks a little bit more composed. Steel. Steel frame. I might actually take this guy, select him, just move him up a little bit, like that. Simply doing some last minute adjustments, but yeah, guys, there it is, the trampoline chair. That was fun. Hope you guys enjoyed that one. I think this was a pretty good one. Hopefully you got something out of it. Let me know what you learned. Definitely show off your sketches if you have some, and yeah, keep on watching. Let me know what I should do better. It's only going to get better from here. Thanks, guys. Peace.